everyone, I'm Ian McCarthy of Lifting for Life, and today I'm bringing you the 21st installment of the Lifting for Life Q&A series, in which I answer your questions on video in under 5 minutes. And today's question was asked in the comment section of my previous video, which was on the topic of why I generally or do not generally recommend mini cuts. And in that video, I discussed recomping, and that's where this question came from. Is recomping not essentially wasting time that could be spent in a true calorie surplus, gaining the maximum amount of muscle possible? Mike Israetel is a big proponent of bulking and cutting cycles rather than recomping. First of all, I'm not sufficiently familiar with Mike's views on this to be able to comment on them responsibly. Indeed, even if I were sufficiently familiar to do that, I probably still wouldn't discuss them on video, whether it be a video dedicated to it or in a video like this, as my preference would be to present my view, he's able to present his. We could certainly interact, but I very much desire to avoid anything even in the neighborhood of being on the planet of clickbait. So to answer the question directly, I do think seeking to recomp can be a waste of time. That is to say, it's context dependent, and a very clear context in which it probably would not be ideal to try to recomp would be if you have someone who very much desires to focus on muscle gain or explicitly wants to maximize their rate of muscle gain, and they are willing to accept noticeable fat gain. That in that situation, there simply is no good reason that at least I am able to discern, and I'm not a complete imbecile, so maybe I'm correct in that judgment, to try to recomp, as opposed to deliberately putting yourself in a substantive surplus with the goal of maximizing hypertrophy for the duration of your bulk. So, to be very clear, in recommending recomping in a significant number of circumstances, I'm not saying bulking is a myth, you shouldn't bulk, etc. Rather, I'm saying recomping is, I think, more of a real phenomenon than a lot of folks think, and should be regarded as a serious option a lot of the time, as opposed to, oh yeah, that's that thing that only happens for noobs and people on drugs or obese or coming back to training after layoff. So that was one context in which it would most likely be appropriate to bulk in a traditional sense. I'd now like to give an example of where it wouldn't be a waste of time to recomp, and I know I've talked about this in previous videos, but I want to ensure that I've covered all the necessary ground in this one video. Imagine you have someone who really wants to gain muscle, and they also carry excess body fat, and it really isn't clear that bulking is the way to go, because they're already fatter than they want to be, and they're going to gain more body fat in bulking, but they also don't have the foundation of muscle mass that would make a cut really ideal, because if they cut down and lose that excess body fat, they're just going to look really thin. Now, in some of those circumstances, because this is so context dependent, it really might make sense for that person to bulk. I think that's least likely. There are cases in which someone doesn't have much muscle, and it does make sense, and this is largely to do with their psychology, it does make sense for them to get quite lean, and then they're more comfortable, and then they can bulk up later. But I think in a majority of cases like that, the way to go would be a recomp, where instead of deliberately setting out to put yourself in a surplus or a deficit, instead you ask the question of, what has occurred, what has happened which has resulted in this person having this undesirable body composition? And in my experience, the mistakes being made are obvious enough and significant enough that just in addressing those, that person is able to significantly improve their body composition in terms of gaining muscle and losing fat, at least in terms of body fat percentage. So this isn't getting too much into have they actually gained exactly 10 pounds of muscle and lost 12 pounds of fat kind of thing, but they are able to significantly improve their body composition without setting out, as I said, to create the energy surplus or the energy deficit. And then down the road, perhaps, it would be appropriate for them to bulk in a more traditional sense or cut. So, it depends. Thank you so much for your time. If you found the video valuable, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already and you'd like to view more videos like this in the future. If you have comments on this topic, please post them below. If you have questions for future videos, please ask them below. Make sure to like the Lifting for Life Facebook page if you haven't already. We're going to be posting a ton of content there moving forward. And I think that's all. Thank you so much for your time. I can't think of a good joke. It happens. I'll see you soon.